No one expected that the broadcast that day would erupt into an explosive confrontation, and this time, the spotlight fell on none other than Elon Musk. What began as a lively debate between opposing viewpoints quickly went off the rails within minutes as Musk and Representative Jasmine Crockett clashed fiercely on live television. The atmosphere in the studio grew tense almost immediately, thick with anticipation, as Jasmine repeatedly interrupted and attacked, while Elon, calm but sharp, delivered a counterblow that left the entire audience stunned. In an unprecedented moment in the show's history, Jasmine Crockett was asked to leave the set, shocking the live audience and millions of viewers watching at home. What was intended as a discussion had turned into a media earthquake, a moment that would dominate headlines for weeks. The stage lights blazed, unable to pierce the heavy mood that settled over the set. The studio fell silent, all eyes trained on the host's table, where Elon Musk and Representative Crockett sat poised for the long-anticipated debate. The camera slowly panned across the scene, catching every glance and breath. Joy Behar, the seasoned host with a reputation for cutting through noise, opened with a deliberate tone. "Welcome to The View. Today we bring you a conversation that's sure to make waves, where technology, politics, and power collide. The role of big tech in Trump's administration and the future of America." Turning to the guests, she introduced Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, now leading the X platform, one of the most influential figures in the modern world. Opposite him sat Representative Jasmine Crockett, a rising voice in the Democratic Party, unafraid of asking tough questions and challenging the powerful. Joy paused, then launched into the heart of the issue. "We begin with DOOGI, the Department of Government Efficiency, a controversial initiative advised by Mr. Musk. Is this a bold leap forward or a policy disaster?" The room felt vacuumed of sound. Crockett's gaze locked on Musk as she tightened her grip on the table. "DOOGI isn't reform," she said sharply. "It's a job slaughter. You fired thousands of federal employees, pushing them into hardship just to serve your and Trump's interests. How can you justify destroying lives?" The audience broke into a mixed reaction of applause and murmurs. Musk, unfazed, tilted his head slightly, a small smile forming. He calmly placed his hands on the table and replied, "Representative Crockett, let's look at the facts. The federal government wastes $600 billion annually on inefficient programs. DOOGI has cut 12% of redundant personnel, saving $60 billion already. Why would you want to keep unnecessary jobs and burden taxpayers?" Crockett's brow furrowed, clearly thrown by the specifics. She waved a hand dismissively, her voice rising. "Don't dodge the issue with numbers. Those people you fired weren't redundant. They're parents, everyday workers trying to raise families. You live in a billionaire's world. You couldn't possibly understand them. DOOGI isn't reform. It's a power move." "Power?" Musk repeated, his voice soft but edged. "You're mistaken. DOOGI isn't about me or Trump. It's about giving money back to the people. 25% of the federal budget goes to unmonitored projects. I've made every DOOGI decision public on X for transparency. What have you proposed to reduce waste, Representative? Or are you just here to perform outrage on live TV?" Crockett's fists clenched as her fury boiled over. "DOOGI is a power grab. You decide who keeps their job and who's out. That's absolute power. And don't act like X is neutral. Everyone knows you control that platform to serve your own interests. You're not a savior, Mr. Musk. You're a manipulator hiding behind tech." Some in the crowd cheered her words, while others booed. Musk remained composed, only his eyebrow twitching slightly. "Manipulator?" he asked dryly. "If I were manipulating, do you think you'd still be sitting here saying these things? Your account has 2.5 million followers. You've posted hundreds of anti-Musk takes. None have been touched. Is that manipulation, or is it just that you can't handle people freely disagreeing with you?" The audience erupted again, a mix of applause and tension. Co-host Sunny Hostin interjected, cautiously. "Elon, Representative Crockett does have a point about DOOGI's impact. Do you think the cuts might be too fast? Could they be doing harm? Musk turned to her sharply. Harm? If we don't fix the government machine now, it will collapse. Do you want to keep tens of thousands of meaningless jobs and hand our grandchildren trillions in debt? Crockett leaned forward, nearly shouting, You don't get to call them meaningless. Those are real people, not numbers. You think you're a king, but you're just a billionaire playing with lives. Musk didn't flinch. Representative, he said slowly, I'm not showing off. I'm solving problems. Doogie is about efficiency, not emotions. If you want to protect people, protect the 300 million Americans who pay for a wasteful system. Every Doogie report is on X. Have you read any of them? Or do you just prefer to perform outrage? Crockett opened her mouth but hesitated, glancing toward Joy and Sonny, who remained silent. The audience chuckled at Musk's calm, biting composure. He picked up his phone and typed out a tweet. Crockett says Doogie doesn't care about people. Who thinks it helps Americans? Vote. The studio screen showed the live poll. 68% supported Musk. Crockett's face flushed. You think a few tweets make you right? She snapped, her voice cracking with anger. Musk leaned in, his gaze locked on hers. No, Representative. Facts make me right. And the fact is, you haven't offered a single alternative idea. The audience was still reeling. The clash over Dooge had left Jasmine Crockett visibly rattled, struggling to regain her footing. The atmosphere was tense, lights casting a glow on Elon Musk's composed face, his demeanor calm and assured. Crockett, on the other hand, had eyes that blazed with intensity, scanning for an opening to regain control. Joy, ever the poised host, sensed the tension escalating and pivoted with the finesse of experience. Smiling, her tone balanced friendliness and authority, she thanked them for their spirited views and redirected the conversation to a pressing topic: free speech in the age of social media. Turning to Jasmine, Joy asked about the platform X under Musk's leadership, a platform hailed by some as a haven of freedom, yet criticized by others as biased. Crockett took a breath, her voice steely. She thanked Joy, then turned her focus to Musk. With precision, she accused him of turning X into a performance of free speech, claiming it had become a megaphone for extreme pro-Trump voices while silencing critics through shadow bans and algorithmic manipulation. A section of the audience applauded. Musk didn't flinch. He leaned forward, hands on the table, speaking with quiet intensity. He asked for evidence, specific accounts, deleted posts, actual policies that proved her point. Everything X did, he said, was public. Was Crockett crafting a story for emotional impact? Caught off guard, Crockett raised her voice. She insisted that direct deletions weren't necessary when the algorithm itself was engineered to elevate the content Musk favored and bury dissenting views. The audience responded with growing noise, though the applause had begun to fade. Musk pulled out his phone, swiping swiftly. The studio camera zoomed in as he posted a tweet quoting Crockett and inviting users to vote on whether they believed X was the freest platform. Responses poured in within seconds, lighting up the studio screen. Musk spoke again, pointing to Crockett's large following, her viral tweets, and the millions of views her content received. If he were manipulating, how could her reach be so vast? Crockett, visibly frustrated, argued that Musk allowed select posts to remain visible for optics, while the algorithm subtly but powerfully distorted visibility. The people, she insisted, deserved genuine transparency, not what she called Musk's fake freedom. Some audience members nodded. Musk, unshaken, responded coolly. He reminded everyone that X's algorithm was open-sourced, available for inspection. Before his takeover, he claimed, 60% of bans were politically motivated, mostly against conservatives. He lifted those bans. X now had 620 million monthly users, up significantly from the previous year. Every viewpoint, he said, now had a voice. The audience fell quiet. Sonny Hostin cautiously stepped in, voicing the concern that X no longer felt his fare. Musk replied evenly, saying fairness didn't mean equal outcomes for all content. It meant everyone had the right to speak, and users had the power to decide. He invited them to post something against him and promised it would go viral. Crockett wasn't done. She accused him of controlling information flow, manipulating the platform to serve his agenda. X, she said, was no longer public. It was his playground. Her challenge stirred the room, but Musk remained composed. He calmly asked why, then, anti-Musk hashtags trended so frequently, and why she still had such a platform. If public opinion was being shaped, he said, it was shaped by users, not him. Her arguments, he implied, lacked substance. Crockett faltered. She looked to the hosts, but they remained silent. Some audience members chuckled, impressed by Musk's poise. He posted another poll. Who thinks X users decide the content? The screen showed 74% in Musk's favor. Crockett clenched her fists, her voice breaking as she dismissed the poll as meaningless. But Musk leaned in again, his words cutting. X users proved him right. They chose the truth, not her narrative. The tension thickened. The audience held its breath as eyes shifted back to Joy Behar, who smiled smoothly and redirected the conversation to an even weightier issue. With precision, she asked Musk how he balanced global business interests with political responsibility, particularly in light of Tesla's involvement in China, a strategic rival to the United States. The audience buzzed, sensing a fresh challenge. Musk, still calm, tilted his head slightly, then responded. Tesla, he said, operated in 50 countries. China was a major market, but not a dependency. Last year alone, Tesla created 120,000 U.S. jobs and paid $22 billion in taxes. The Shanghai factory was built to compete globally, not to rely on China. If the U.S. didn't play the game, he warned, its rivals surely would. I work with Trump's administration to advance American interests, not to dodge responsibility. Crockett raised an eyebrow, eyes blazing as if she'd spotted a crack. She leaned forward, her voice steely. Mr. Musk, you talk about American interests, but that's just an excuse. You can't be Trump's advisor slapping tariffs on China while making billions from your Shanghai factory. That's a clear conflict of interest. You put personal profit above national security, and the American people deserve to know your real motives. The audience grew loud, some nodding in support. Musk only smiled, his voice soft but sharp. I've invested $12 billion in clean energy research in the U.S., while Chinese competitors receive tens of billions in subsidies. Tesla produces 55% of the world's EVs. If I don't compete in China, the U.S. loses its edge. Do you want America to lead or fall behind? Crockett's eyes flashed with fury. Don't deflect, she snapped. You work for Trump, but profit from a country he calls an enemy. That's hypocrisy. You can't be a patriot and get rich off Beijing. Some audience members applauded. Musk only shook his head slightly, as if brushing aside a weak argument. Hypocrisy? He asked, voice low with sarcasm. Let's talk facts. I take zero subsidies from China, unlike Tesla's competitors. I built the Shanghai factory to export globally, bringing billions back to the U.S. Why don't you explain why politicians in your party take millions from China-dependent companies? Is that loyalty? The room fell silent. Some whispered, pulled into Musk's argument. Co-host Sonny Hostin stepped in. Elon, Jasmine raises a real issue. How do you ensure there's no conflict when working for Trump and doing business in China? Musk turned to her, eyes sharp, a lingering smile. I make all Tesla's contracts public. Our headquarters, our research, our future are in America. If you're worried about conflicts, ask the politicians taking Chinese big tech money. I put America first. Crockett waved her hand, nearly shouting. That's a trick. You use Tesla to hide your real motives. You're loyal to profits, not America. Her words stirred the crowd, but Musk didn't flinch. He only raised an eyebrow. If I only cared about profits, he said slowly, I wouldn't have spent $44 billion buying X to protect free speech. Tesla is proof America can lead the world. You want to talk motives? Show evidence I favor China. If not, you're just telling stories. Crockett opened her mouth, but her words faltered. The audience chuckled at Musk's calm. The studio grew tense, like a taut string. After the clash over Musk's China ties, silence settled in. All eyes were fixed on the host's table. Musk leaned back in his chair, calm but cold. Crockett gripped the edge of the table, frustration and determination written across her face. Joy Behar, smooth and expectant, spoke softly. Thank you both for a tense and lively debate. We've talked Doge, X, Tesla, and China. But how is the influence of billionaires like Mr. Musk shaping American politics? Jasmine, how do you see this impacting democracy? The crowd reacted. Some clapped, others quiet. The divide was clear. Crockett, taking a breath, her voice sharp and slightly trembling, stared straight at Musk. Mr. Musk, you and your billionaire allies aren't just buying influence. You're buying this country. You pour millions into Trump's campaign. You control X to serve your agenda, and you sit in the White House advising on policies that benefit your empire. That's not democracy. It's an oligarchy. You don't serve the people. You serve yourself. Americans deserve leaders who put their interests first. The studio fell into stunned silence. Musk remained still, fingers tapping lightly on the table, a faint smile on his lips. His eyes locked onto hers. Representative Crockett, that's a dramatic story. But let's stick to facts. I've funded both parties. Public records prove it. My role in the White House is to fix a broken system, not get richer. X is a platform where 600 million people, including you, speak freely. If I'm buying influence, why do your posts criticizing me go viral? Seems like the people still hold the power. Crockett's eyes widened. Her voice broke slightly as she leaned forward. Don't twist the truth. You don't just fund, you buy access. Your money got you a seat at Trump's table. You push policies that protect billionaires. Ordinary Americans don't have that power. You're turning democracy into a playground for the ultra-rich. And that's shameful. Musk's tone turned cheerful, but with a razor-sharp edge. My role in policy is to end waste, not add to it. You say I serve myself? Name one policy I've pushed for personal gain. I'm waiting. Crockett froze, breathing rapidly, clearly searching for a response. You're dodging, she finally shouted, her voice breaking. Your wealth gives you power no one else has. You influence elections. You shape the narrative on X. And you sit in the White House like an untouchable king. That's not democracy. It's corruption, the audience murmured, but the applause was weak. Musk leaned in, his gaze cutting. Corruption? That's a big word, Representative. Let's look at the numbers. My companies have created 200,000 jobs globally, mostly in the U.S. I've paid $30 billion in taxes over the past decade. X is the world's largest free speech platform. What exactly are you fighting? Me or the fact that the system lets someone like me do more than politicians ever have? A platform with 650 million monthly users had become the new arena for open debate. Elon Musk, calm and sharp-tongued, addressed the crowd with a confidence bordering on provocation. If I'm a king, I'm a terrible one, he said, because I've empowered the people more than ever. When accused of influencing elections, he demanded evidence. Or are you just shouting to cover up the fact that you have no answers? The audience fell into a hushed stillness as his words landed heavily. Co-host Sonny Hostin tried to shift the tone, raising a question about the dangers of wealth and influence overshadowing ordinary voters. Musk's reply came fast, with a smirk. By letting voters speak, X gives every American a megaphone. If my wealth drowned them out, why do grassroots movements trend on X daily? Numbers don't lie, only stories do. Representative Jasmine Crockett snapped. That's ridiculous, she said, her voice rising. You're not a hero. You're a billionaire who thinks he's God. You think your money and platform make you untouchable, but the people will see through you. The comment drew some cheers, but the room's energy had shifted. Musk, unfazed, responded coldly, "If the people see through me, why do they trust X more than ever? Your anti-Musk hashtag trended for 48 hours last week. If I'm God, I'm a terrible one. Show evidence. Don't lean on emotions." Crockett hesitated, fury and frustration written across her face. She opened her mouth to reply, but no words came. Then, with a sudden burst of rage, she ripped off her microphone and slammed it onto the table, the metallic clang cutting through the tension. "I'm not sitting here for a billionaire to mock our democracy!" she screamed before storming off, her exit echoing across the silent studio. Chaos erupted. Audience members stood up, some applauding wildly, others whispering in shock. Camera crews scrambled to capture every moment. Joy Behar, usually composed, forced a tight smile. "Well, that was quite a moment nobody saw coming. But that's The View, always full of surprises. We'll be back." Musk sat still, scrolling through his phone like nothing had happened. In a corner, Hostin whispered urgently to her co-hosts, worry in her eyes. Behind the scenes, producers argued over whether to cut the broadcast. One director shouted, "We can't let this clip air without control." But the moment was already slipping from their grasp. Within minutes, the footage was all over social media. A View staffer drafted an urgent email suggesting a formal statement, but it was clear no amount of PR could contain the storm. Outside the studio, a journalist live streaming said, "I've never seen The View this chaotic. Crockett just dug her own grave," and Musk handed her the shovel. Musk tweeted moments later, "Thanks to The View for the chance to debate. Truth always wins, with or without a microphone." The tweet racked up likes by the second. Memes flooded timelines. One image of Crockett walking off was captioned, "When you think you can take on Elon but forget to bring data." Another viral video layered dramatic music over her exit. One tweet read, "Crockett just knocked herself out of the game. Musk didn't even need to stand up." Celebrities chimed in. One joke from a comedian read, "Crockett ran faster than Musk's Starship taking off." A pop star shared the clip saying, "Whatever side you're on, you can't deny Musk knows how to play this game." While reactions varied, the common thread was clear. Crockett's dramatic exit had taken center stage in America's cultural conversation. Media outlets scrambled to frame the moment. Conservative platforms wasted no time. Fox News aired a special segment, "Musk Exposes the Truth. Crockett Can't Cope," where analysts praised Musk's calm and data-driven demeanor. A former strategist said, "She came with emotion, he came with numbers. She set herself up to lose." Breitbart ran an op-ed hailing Musk as a hero of reason. Radio shows from Sean Hannity to Glenn Beck picked apart the exchange, calling it proof the left can't handle truth on live TV. Progressive media pushed back but struggled to shift the narrative. The New York Times published a piece arguing, "Crockett's walkout was a protest, not a defeat." MSNBC hosted activists who claimed Musk had bullied her into silence, but the public response was harsh. Most commenters dismissed the idea of a protest, saying Crockett had just quit when challenged. Neutral outlets offered more balanced takes, but couldn't deny the scale of the fallout. The Washington Post described the moment as a turning point in talk show history, where composure and data now beat outrage. Bloomberg analyzed it from a business perspective, suggesting Musk had just demonstrated X's power not just as a platform, but as a force in shaping narrative control and public perception. Would you like a visual breakdown of the media reactions, or how this affected X's influence rating afterward? Musk's clear victory in the exchange didn't just boost his personal image, it also elevated X as a major platform for shaping public opinion. The incident drew more than 15 million views across online platforms within just 24 hours, setting a record for viewership outside major outlets. Independent journalists and online commentators quickly joined the fray. A freelance journalist known for political analysis on Substack published a 2,000-word breakdown of Musk's arguments, suggesting Crockett entered the confrontation unprepared. The post went viral, amassing thousands of likes. Meanwhile, a political podcaster with millions of listeners devoted an entire episode to the incident, featuring a former Democratic congressman who admitted Crockett underestimated Musk, saying, "She brought passion when she needed data." Despite their differing voices, many commentators reinforced the perception that Musk had dominated not just the studio, but the broader conversation. The View quickly found itself in crisis mode. Leadership held an emergency meeting the same day, debating how to handle the fallout. A tabloid leak revealed internal division. Some producers wanted to bring Crockett back to explain herself, while others feared it would only highlight Musk's win. The show released an official statement the next morning, framing the event as part of its tradition of lively dialogue, but online reactions were harsh. Many mocked the statement, calling the segment a demolition, not a discussion. Public interest remained intense. Musk supporters launched a campaign on X, urging him to appear on more shows to speak the truth. Crockett's supporters tried to defend her online, but their voices were overwhelmed by mockery. One forum post summed up the sentiment. Crockett thought she could yell in Musk's face and win. He's the king of data. The confrontation had become more than just a TV moment. It was a cultural battle, with Musk using his precision and platform to reshape the narrative in ways few expected. Even mainstream media, though offering varied perspectives, acknowledged Musk hadn't just bested Crockett. He had forced a reconsideration of how billionaires can command public stages, without theatrics. The media firestorm following Jasmine Crockett's abrupt exit from The View lasted well beyond a news cycle. It reshaped how audiences perceive political debates and the influence of high-profile figures like Musk. In the aftermath, The View became a national flashpoint. The incident continued to haunt the show for months. Ratings dropped as both conservative and progressive viewers questioned its fairness. Sponsors grew uneasy, pushing leadership to act. Some executives proposed inviting more conservative voices to rebalance the show, but internal resistance led to a stalemate. Meetings dragged on for weeks, debating whether to issue a public apology, to Crockett or to Musk. Ultimately, the show chose silence, a decision that only worsened public perception and suggested the program had lost its credibility as a space for real debate. Jasmine Crockett faced a steep personal cost. She attempted to rehabilitate her image by appearing on progressive outlets, framing herself as someone who stood up to billionaire power. But each appearance triggered renewed circulation of the viral clip, undermining her message. While a few Democratic allies publicly supported her, many distanced themselves, worried association would hurt their reputations. Internal polling revealed a steep decline in her approval ratings. Online, she was branded the runaway. Though she kept her congressional seat, her political path grew thornier, with opponents frequently citing her clash with Musk as a sign of her unpreparedness. Meanwhile, Elon Musk emerged stronger. His reputation among conservative supporters solidified, and he attracted a broader following on X. His short, pointed posts continued to receive millions of interactions, with many praising his calm demeanor and data-driven style. Democrats responded by intensifying their criticism, calling for investigations into his political ties and branding him a threat to democracy. Ironically, these attacks seemed to increase his influence, as polls began showing large portions of the public viewed him as a truth-teller. The Musk-Crockett exchange became symbolic of a larger ideological divide between those who support tech billionaires and those who fear their power. Political analysts pointed out that the event ignited new debates about the role of technology and money in democracy, with X playing a central role. One political science professor wrote that Musk demonstrated how, in the digital age, data and controlled platforms can overpower emotion. His clash with Crockett became a case study in the new dynamics of political discourse. In this narrative, Musk used composure and specifics to control the moment, while Crockett relied on emotional appeals and general accusations, which ultimately failed. Her storming off the set became a symbol of losing control. The subsequent media reaction, with outlets like Fox News applauding Musk and MSNBC scrambling to defend Crockett, reflected the nation's polarization. Clips of the event continued to spread, reinforcing how Americans often gravitate toward sensationalism over substance. The long-term effects were clear: declining ratings for The View, a credibility blow for Crockett, and a surge in Musk's influence. The episode revealed a deeper truth. Those who master data and digital platforms hold the power to define narratives over time. In today's polarized America, persuasion and influence rely on calm, informed arguments rather than emotional outbursts. Whether in politics, school, or activism, people are learning that to be taken seriously, you must show your facts, keep your cool, and speak with purpose. The story of the Musk-Crockett clash reminds us that emotion, while powerful, cannot replace logic in the court of public opinion. The reach and influence of X underscore the strategic importance of using social media wisely, posting with evidence, not just emotion. In everyday life, presenting your position with confidence, backed by data, is a skill more vital than ever in a society that rewards clarity, calmness, and credibility.